So folks, without further ado, we're going to keep it moving this morning. And it is my tremendous honor to introduce to you our first discussion or our first topic on agenda, which is at the heart of everything that we do. In spite of all of the noise and all of the challenges that we have faced over the last 18 months, it is truly imperative that we never lose sight on the customer, as they truly are the reason why we exist. In spite of all of the difficult decisions that have had to be made, branches closing down, perhaps even rejiggling the staffing, it really is important that we maintain a focus on our customers' expectations. And if ever there was an opportunity to ring fence those relationships, the opportunity has presented itself again now. So without further ado, to discuss towards transformative customer experience, industry leaders and their teams have had to contend with numerous and frequent disruptors over the past 18 months or so. The importance of the customer experience to business continuity and development has not waned. In fact, many of us here may agree that the customer experience has become even more prominent in the current pandemic environment. Joining me today to discuss this topic and to expound on the transformative customer experience is Mr. Enrique O'Reilly, Regional Director with Temenos, who has a wealth of experience in banking technology and financial service sector planning, spanning 3 decades. Mr. O'Reilly leads the Temenos Latin America and Caribbean operations. He is a firm evangelist of digital transformation, financial inclusion, and fintech growth for the region. Enrique, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Wendy, thank you very much for that introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for the Caribbean Association of Banks for this invitation. So as you rightly pointed out, I have a good presentation of how to make digital banking more human. So without further ado, let me just start with my slides. I hope you can see them because I'm broadcasting. So let me just move to the slides. So the title is Humanizing Digital Banking, and is bringing back the power of the human touch, the connections that we all crave, especially after all of these pandemic days and lockdowns, in terms of how we're serving our customers. Let me first start by giving you a quick introduction of who Temenos is. We are a Swiss-based organization. We just do software for financial institutions. We're passionate about that, as we would like you to be passionate about your customers. We have over 3,000 banks around the world using our technology, and we operate in more than 150 countries. And as you pointed out, I'm based in Miami. I look after the Latin American region and the Caribbean. And our history in the Caribbean is quite successful. We have almost 40 institutions that we are currently helping in most of the countries that we have here represented, where is Antigua, Bahamas, Cayman, Cuba, Dominican Republic, French Guiana, Haiti. And so it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sure that some of our customers will be presented here. Most recently, we've implemented in Nevis the new Hamilton Reserve Bank, which is one of our recent success, as well as the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Britannia Bank, Hermes, and many others. In terms of banking and open finance and a lot of the new trends that are happening, we see a disruption in the value chain of the provision of financial services. So a lot of institutions are focusing very much on the front end, what is the channel communication with the clients, this part on the top, and which is where the user experience exists. But we believe that you cannot neglect the rest of the system. I mean, you cannot, sometimes we call it just having a mobile app on your legacy core solution is like putting lipstick on a pig. So it looks nicer, it's better, but it's still a pig. So you really need to look at all your systems and do a total re-engineering of digitalization if you want to truly become digital. And that comes from also reviewing your core applications to make them more flexible, to have straight-through processing, more automation, and overall, scalability to able to grow faster. We do a survey in Temenos where we ask, where are the main areas of importance for new investments. And this is some of the relative percentages that we got from our user base. So very, very high on the digital front end, but also very high on the operational efficiency on the back end. And it's not coincidence that the products that we present to the market are really now two big families. What we call the Temenos Transact, which is a transactional core solution for current accounts, investments, lending, saving accounts, but also a channel platform for mobile banking, internet banking, branch banking, call centers, which we call Temenos Infinity. And they are all separate. They can be bought in separate ways, in connecting even with other systems. And we connect through about 700 APIs, which are part of our family of interconnectivity for open banking. So enough about Temenos. We are obviously happy to help you, and we will have a booth and people to connect with you if you want to know more about our product. More specifically about the presentation, I'm going to talk about how can we invest in emotion, how can we invest in making the institution more digital, but without losing the human touch. And that is where the value of maintaining a relationship stays. Let me start with this video.
People crave simplicity when it comes to managing their money, so they can do more of what they enjoy, focus on what matters most, and build their future. Temenos Infinity offers digital banking with humans at the heart of every experience, meeting customers where they are, with thoughtful guidance, delightful personalization, and access to financial solutions that suit any need, enabling banks to grow alongside their customers throughout their important moments in life, both big and small. Temenos has helped banks form emotional connections with over 1.2 billion people across the globe. Digital banking made human. Are you ready to make the connection?
So how do we bring all of this emotion to our interactive tools, our mobile banking, our internet banking? And one of the main points is that we need to realize that all the banking journeys, whether it's opening an account or asking for a loan, start with us as people, as individuals. Digitalization in banking started, many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Obviously, got a lot faster during the last 2 years of the pandemic, because we had to close branches, we need to work from home, and all of these different aspects. And some institutions just took advantage to digitalize, but automate some of the transactions that they've been doing so far. Whereas the difference is in how can you take advantage to make a personal connection and then communicate with your customers at a different level. We had a survey around the world where we were asking more than 5,000 consumers, just like you and me, that are using banking services, about how they relate to their banking institutions and what are the emotions that come up when you are thinking about your bank, your credit union, your investment, your broker. And what it was striking is there was a range of emotions. You can see, frustration, happiness. But two of the emotions that were ranked the highest were these ones. On one end, trust, because obviously we're giving the money to these institutions. And on the other end, apathy, because maybe we don't care if it's entity 1 or entity 2 or entity 3 or bank B or bank C. So the part of this communication and these presentations is how can we tap into these two large emotions? First, if we have trust from our clients, which is obviously what giving us the loyalty from the clients, how can we build on that trust to be able to create better products, to be able to compete, not just with price or with better fees, but with differentiation, because the client trusts me and is going to be loyal to me. And on the other end, how can I take advantage of the apathy that exists in some customers and bring those customers from another banks into my bank? And that's basically, how are we tapping into these emotions? We also asked them, how do you feel about the banks? And this is three of the main responses that we got. Obviously, more than a third, 37%, were saying is trust and confidence. Why? Because that's where my money is. I want it to be safe. I want it to be protected. But we also had some interesting responses like gratitude. Obviously, when we have a problem and we need some financing and we need a loan, whether it is a secure loan or a secure loan, the moment I get the funds and I can make use of it and solve my problem, I really feel happy and I feel, content and I want to express my gratitude to the bank. And the other one is obviously happiness when we can do a transaction, whether it's a payment, a transfer, paying school fees, paying my bills, etc. So it's building on these experiences and building on these emotions that we can get stronger connections with our client. Some of the quotes that we got from different markets, and you will recognize some of these around the world. For example, from Poland, that says, "I wish my bank will be nicer when they talk to me," because sometimes we treat clients with a lot of automation and automatic responses. In Jamaica, they told us, "My bank can help our community by putting on some kind of sports or music events for customers." So it's trying to connect with your customers at a different level, not just providing financial services, but helping the community that you are serving. My bank could improve interactions with me by just showing me more genuine interest on my needs, something that we got from Trinidad and Tobago. And another quote there from Brazil or from Peru is, "Banks they need to change the way they interact. I prefer interact with a person." So as much as we're using more and more digital channels, and obviously the device of excellence is the mobile phone, because everybody's now using mobile phone to do all of their transactions, including financial and banking transactions. There's still several channels like the branch, like the phone and that email that have to be, attended by a human being. So how can I invest in those channels and make them better? And how can I even use channels like the mobile app or the website and introduce a human aspect, whether it is a screen sharing application, whether I can, with a click on a button, start sharing a video conference, just like what we're doing right now, that I'm sharing my presentation with you. Well, the same thing, your financial advisors can discuss on a one-to-one with your customers over the internet in a digital channel, but without losing the human touch, which will also be important. We asked the clients, why did they have to visit the branch? And still, the majority, 3 in 5, say they had to go to the branch because they needed to. And that's because a lot of the transactions that we have been able to move to the mobile channels are the easy transactions. They're checking the balance, they're doing a transfer, doing some sort of payment. Whereas there are other types of transactions that we can be able to do with the same devices if we add a little bit more of technology. We have a very nice application where people can be chatting with an advisor on real time through their mobile phone, and the advisor on their bank or on their office can then communicate with 2 or 3 individuals at the same time to help them solve the problem. So the idea is to create meaningful experiences for all of these clients. And how can I make banking more human? And it's interesting when you see the vast majority of the transactions that people want to do, which is just the base payment or a transfer of money, about 43% they say that's what I'm happy with. But there are other types of transactions where I can bring a little bit more human connection. For example, I want a solution to achieve my goals. I want to save money to take my kids to a university or to pay for a vacation or a retirement. I want better recommendation on how can I use my funds. Tools like personal financial management to help me understand how am I using my money, how can I save more money to achieve my goals, how can I use the bank better. I think the banks of the future, besides having all of these connections, have to make that transition from just being the custodians of my funds to being my financial advisor, to being my coach that will tell me, Enrique, you're spending too much money on restaurants or going out or on trips, and maybe you should be looking at improving, education or training on other things like other people in your peer group, etc. And that's some of the activities that banks needs to move. And we need to be able to differentiate our prices and our products, not just because we're offering a better interest, not just because we have more facility in terms of a mobile access or lower fees or an offer to give them a promotion. We need to differentiate by having an emotional connection. That's where the value is going to be. So keeping customers around will require that extra mile from you to make those relationships turning into an emotional and truly emotional connection. And how can you achieve that? Let me just share with you a couple of examples. So when we take decisions, obviously they're driven by emotions. I want to buy a house, and then that's an emotional decision. And after that, obviously I need to finance that operation. So I need a mortgage from my trusted bank, my trusted community. I need to have an application that is highly transactional, but also gives me a little bit more than just the transfer of funds or the checking the balance. It gives me nice and cool features. This is some of the examples from our clients. We work with the credit union of the Disney Corporation. So obviously we need to have a lot of cartoon characters and Mickey Mouse using there, because we want to identify with the clients that are using that particular mobile app. And with the technology that we're presenting is you can create all of these different types of interactions to be able to work with the clients. One of our customers, Flowy Bank, for example, wants to make that connection because they want to aspire to the views of their clients in terms of protecting the environment. For example, they offer a wooden credit card with a chip embedded in it. And that's much different than the plastic that we normally have of some of the new sort of rich cars or cars for rich that are, platinum and that are metal. I think this one presents a different message. Those that are more in touch with nature, that will be able to use this wooden card. So it's important to connect with your clients in their aspirational level to make sure that, that they can see that this is also fun, that is just an experience using that. And the idea is to make all that transition of being authentic, representing the brand values of your institution, be personal, that you can communicate with each of them, connect at different levels, and aspire to the objectives that they want to achieve. So how do we move an organization or a solution that is very much on products, the lending, the mortgage, the investment product, and more into the people? This is something that is targeted to students. This is for millennials. This is for people that are seeking a better retirement, a better lifestyle. How can I change that to have a solution that is tailored to a specific people, and they know when to start, when can they start making changes in their lives, and focus on their aspirations in terms of the organization, in terms of how we're bringing all of these products together with a combination of partners in an ecosystem to make sure that we can take all the different stages in their life, products for young families, products for kids, etc., to understand how you're connecting at a different level, because that's what is driving the value of the products that you are offering to the market. So when you have a dissatisfied customer, they will slowly be closing some of the products, and the value that they represent to the institution will start very soon to be negative, because with one or two products on your institution, they are not going to be generating a lot of revenue. A customer that is highly satisfied because of the quality and the service that you provide will begin to bring value. A customer that perceives and identifies with your brand more than just being satisfied with the use of it, but identifies with it, brings even more value, because you can charge higher rates. The clients are going to be happy because they are identifying and they want to use your product. And if you connect emotionally with them, if they like your brand, not just identifying, but they are emotionally connected, they are investing in it, they parents use it, they use it, they want their kids to use it, you will be able to create much more value. That's when you find social acceptance, success in life, family connections, etc. And that is the point that you need to aspire to go to. And you can see the different levels of banking product and how people react in terms of how they perceive, how emotionally connect they are to them. So we do consumer banking or retail banking, not very emotionally connect. This is much of a commodity type product where you have a good percentage of the people that are there. Some perceive brand differentiation, highly satisfied, a few others are not really that connected. But the more we move into more sophisticated and complex products like a mortgage or credit cards or a brokerage for an investment account, that is when we can find room for bigger emotional connections and differentiate our products in a different scale, not just on the price. So clients that are emotionally connected, obviously by default, will be more loyal. They will have 20% more products with you. They will express higher satisfaction, higher benefit in terms of the use of the products. They will leave the institution a lot less. So then they will have lower attrition rates. And they will have, instead of having many financial institutions, they will tend to gravitate towards a single institution to have most of the products. We see in the banks that we work with the different levels of digitalization and emotional connection, and we classify them in different quartiles. So we have an example here that banks that are more digitized in the front and in the back, which are represented by the upper quartile graph in here, have much higher rates of growth, in this case 33% versus an 11% growth on the lower quartile. They are able to be more efficient because each of the employees can attend or serve a higher number of customers. In terms of the highly digitized banks, one person at the institution can serve something like 1,160 clients of the institution. Whereas if you go to the other extreme, a bank that is not very digitized with an index of 16, it will be able to have a ratio of 188 customers per employee, which is very low and also not very efficient and more costly. So improving digitalization will give you to have higher economies of scales by making you more efficient and helping you to grow faster. You should also be that once you start digitizing the bank and making these products automate, the employees of the institution will be able to focus on activities that are more revenue generating. So in here we have in the low end on the left-hand side, an institution that is not very digitized, where 5% of the employees are on product management, 14% are on sales and relationship generating business, and 38% are on IT, which is maintaining the infrastructure that I currently have to serve the clients, but really not making any progress. It's just keeping a steady state. 22% are in the tedious tasks of risk and compliance, reporting, analytics, etc. Whereas if we move to the right-hand side of the scale with more automation, with more digitalization, you can find out that more people from the institution can focus on the activities of growth, on sales, on marketing, on bringing more customers, on generating more business, whereas a smaller percentage of the people will be focusing on running the operation, running the bank, running the system. Let me just trying to wrap up with a report that we did with the Economist Intelligence Unit on several surveys looking at attitudes of banks in different parts of the world, and specifically in Latin America and the Caribbean for our region. So some of the findings is that about 80% of the banks, they seek to differentiate with the customer experience rather than with the product, which is what we've been saying, making that connection with the client, and mastering both the experience and the digital marketing. It's not just the experience, but how can you tap into the activities that the client is doing with clever analytics and artificial intelligence to be able to propose relevant products at the relevant time, so that they can start looking into expanding the share of the wallet or the types of products that they have. So some of the success stories that I would like just to share with you from a few of our clients, and these are different examples of very large institutions like the Itaú from Brazil or HSBC that you all know, some meteor banks that we work with. In the region, we have Banco Ripley, which was not starting as a bank, started more as consumer shop for goods and services, and they obviously decided that it was easier to start a bank to help their customers buy their products. BCI, which is a bank from Chile, and also some of the new challenger banks that are coming to disrupt the financial sector with technology, with new types of approach, offering products in a very digital way. So the ones on the right-hand side are almost born digital, like Baro Bank, Flow Bank, the one that I mentioned that connects with the clients with their wooden cards, Alpian, STP, PayPal, which is another of our big clients that we have. We've been able to take a huge share of this new sector, which is some of the new banks that are becoming to the market and starting truly digital without any branches. In our region, we have like Banco del Sol in Argentina, C6 from Brazil, Hamilton Bank that I mentioned before in the island of Nevis, Open Bank from Santander, PayPal that we have there. With PayPal, we're managing at the moment around 28 million loans in their product that they call Buy Now, Pay Later, which is just a click away from creating a loan very, very fast, very quickly on the cloud. Some of the success stories that we have in the region with Fina Bank in Suriname, they implemented both our backend transactional system as well as the channel, the Infinity solution with some clever analytics. Hamilton Bank even installed our engine for payments, and they are now bringing together in the island of St. Kitts and Nevis banks that they have operations in Asia, in other parts of the world, that are using this particular entity in Nevis to do a lot of the real-time payments and to move money from all of these different accounts. Virgin Money, that you know, is a very well-established brand of entertainment and transportation, and also moving into financial services with a huge amount of clients. And some of our recent digital banks in the United States, you'll be surprised, but there's also a huge proportion of population in the US which is unbanked. That means that they don't have access to normal banking accounts, and banks don't look at them as potential customers because they don't have sufficient funds to maintain, good balances on the accounts. But Baro is targeting at this, on the underserviced sector of society to offer a good financial services, whether it is loans as well as savings accounts for them to improve their lives. HSBC, which we're increasing, with the use of Infinity and our platform to have more and more clients around the world. So that's it for the presentation. I hope you like it. I think they wanted me to leave a few space for questions from the audience. So I'm happy to take them. Let me just stop sharing the screen, and I'm ready to take your questions. I hope you enjoy the presentation. Wendy, thank you.
That was fantastic, Enrique. I listened, and I must admit that I was quite intrigued listening to your presentation this morning. A number of questions are floating around in my head, but I'm going to hold off on that a little bit, and let's see if we get any questions streaming in from the audience. I also got some interesting feedback, so let's see. Okay, question number one, here we go. What would you say are some easy wins or low-hanging fruit that may be implemented within industry in short order post-conference?
I mean, one of the easy wins are to move into obviously a mobile banking through the phones. But as I said, without losing touch of the human connection. I think just giving a mobile app to a user and expecting them to resolve all their problems will not go. I think tapping that together with an application that can connect clients using text so that they can send information and questions to their bank officer, and the bank officer being able to interact with them will add a little connectivity value or human touch to the interaction, and that will be much satisfying experiences.
Okay, very interesting. So particularly, thank you so much for that question. Please keep them coming. But particularly in this environment, it's very interesting that you are almost advocating for more human interaction, right? But COVID presents this challenge where essentially we must distance, and we perhaps are being encouraged to utilize digital platforms for as much of the touch points that we would otherwise do in person.
Mm-hmm.
How do you then determine what we can facilitate in this environment? Because I do recognize the need for human interaction, right? But COVID is saying something different. So how do we make that balance, particularly keeping in mind safety?
Sure. I mean, you and I are right now without being face to face in a protective environment. So you could do the same with your internet banking platform. You could have most of your automatic actions to be driven out of just the internet solution. But if you need to speak with someone to resolve a specific problem, you can just click on a button and it will pop in a video, and you will be able to communicate with a banking employee that is going to be just a video call away from you. You are continuing to use the technology, but you are not losing track of how you're connecting with people, in real time. Whether it's via text that the millennials prefer to use, because obviously they have their very agile fingers to send messages, or whether you can open up a video screen and be able to advise your customer, whether it is on taking a new loan or whether it is taking an investment. So technology does not mean stopping the human connection. It's just a different way of enabling the human connection. And that's what I think we're trying to advocate now.
Okay, fantastic. I think that we may have another question in. Can I just get a cue on that? Great. From David Cordero. Thank you, David. What is your posture on AI? Do you think that chatbots can deliver an effective first contact?
I mean, we've invested a lot on artificial intelligence, and I think you need to understand what is the best use case for that. Artificial intelligence is a wrong name because it's not really intelligent. It's an algorithm that understands from history. So with whatever transactions, let's say, for example, the decision to give or not give someone a loan. So with your transactional history, you can bring an algorithm that will define what are the characteristics of a good payer versus the characteristics of a bad payer. And based on that, we will create an algorithm that will very quickly differentiate, this is someone that I should lend money, or this is someone that I should not lend money. Now, it's not going to be the final solution. I think you need to take some cases that will be in the mid zone, where then a human being can take an interpretation and then decide whether this person is subject to a loan or not. But it will help you automate the institution a lot more. With COVID, what we did is we launched an AI algorithm for loans. Do you know that the US government and many governments around the world were channeling a lot of money to their economies because all the industries needed loans, people needed to have their jobs protected. So, but you needed to very quickly decide whether this was fulfilling the criteria and this was not fulfilling the criteria. it was easier to create an artificial intelligence algorithm that will make all this possible. And one final point on the artificial intelligence is you need to explain it. You need to understand how that algorithm works, because otherwise you will be perpetrating the errors of the past. Because the algorithm learns from the past. If you have wrongly, acted in the prejudice of certain groups, you will continue to do so unless you really uncover the mechanism by which decisions are being made. So it is a very important tool. You need to take it with care. It will be as intelligent as you can make it learn.
Correct. Okay, great. The questions are flowing in, Enrique, so I think that we have received another question. If we could have that posted so everyone can follow. All right, so this one says, very interesting. Internet penetration levels across the Caribbean are far below ideal. How then do banks reach customers who aren't online? And I suppose this question really frames financial inclusion as part of that discussion. As we move towards more digitization and more digital platforms, what about those persons who do not have access?
Yeah, that's a problem. And obviously, we can only get around with new technologies and satellite technologies and things like that. However, we have many instances in Asia and Latin America and in the Caribbean where some of our applications that can reside on iPads, for example, or tablets. You can have a person going on a motorcycle with a tablet, and that is a branch bank for you. It can go to the more remote areas of the country, and with a tablet being able to go to a group of people and say, collecting the payments for a loan or dispersing a loan that you are giving to a specific community. So the reality is that these devices are so versatile, mobile devices, whether it is a phone or a tablet, that you can have a lot of the experience in there. And you can have the technology to enable them to operate when they are offline. They don't need to be online all the time. When they are offline, to make some basic transactions. And then once they get into an area where there is good signal or internet access, they can then synchronize with the central. Obviously, you need to build a lot of protection and services around that. So obviously you don't have infinite limits or very high levels of authorization when they are operating offline. But it is possible to do it, and thankfully the technology is moving so fast that this specific example and this problem is becoming less and less. So, but there are tools to overcome this current situation and make digitalization possible even without internet connection.
Okay, fantastic. That was a great question, and certainly speaks to our experiences in the Caribbean. So, for example, at the top of the hour, I indicated that in St. Lucia, we walked in this morning to a massive power outage. So I think for those of us who do have access, it certainly does allow us greater reach worldwide. But then we do have to employ some measure of creativity and innovation within our own industries to ensure that every customer is accommodated. I believe there's another question in here for you, Enrique. All right, Nathaniel, thank you. How important is it for banks to connect digitally with other local businesses?
I think this is more important because the bank needs to provide a service that is more integrated with the business that they're running. We have the way we operate to provide a wider level of solutions to the market is we have a marketplace where a lot of fintech entities participate, and they can reach all of the Temenos community of clients. So one of our marketplace partners provides us with access to the most standard general ledger systems that businesses use, whether it's SAP or whether it's Dynamics or another generic solution, which means that the treasurer of the business or the owner of the business can have the banking application connected in real time with the system that he uses to operate the business, whether it is account payables, account receivables. And you as a bank, when you have that type of connection, you can identify opportunities for funding. You can warn your client. We have a solution called the Intelligent COO or the Digital COO, where you can predict ahead, and you can say, because you are not collecting your invoices in time, you're going to have a cash flow problem in a couple of months. We suggest a line of credit, or we can take your invoices and do factoring on those invoices to give you an advance finance for your requirements. So the more and more the world is interconnected, all of these features are becoming possible for the bank to be able to provide better services to the clients. And a way of differentiating is precisely with better business banking. Because in the retail world, there's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of fintechs arriving there. I think the business banking is an area where most of the incumbent financial institutions can fend themselves very successfully.
All right, lovely, Enrico. I think certainly, especially now where the world is almost being forced into a position where we are being disconnected, so to speak, the inability to meet as we see right now with our virtual conference, we really do need to find innovative ways of staying connected, particularly with the customer. Mm-hmm. And in spite of the fact that we are seeing so many digital wallets, etc., coming on stream, we still hear customers saying that they want to come in to speak with someone. We mm-hmm. still see the long lines, and many of those persons who populate our banking halls do have access. And so it begs the question that I think a lot of times we hear and oftentimes we think, is there still a place for brick and mortar banks in spite of the age of digitization?
I think yes. I think it's important that we maintain this, open place where clients can come, as you're saying, interact at a human level with the client. My grandfather used to go to the branch bank maybe 3 or 4 times a day, and he will visit the ladies at the clinic, he will chat with them, and that was part of his experience on a day-by-day basis. He will manage some flats that he owned. He will collect the rents and go and deposit the rents. And instead of making 1 trip a week, he will go every day because he liked the exercise of walking to the branch, and he will like interacting to the people on the branch. And the moment he will walk in the branch, they will receive and say, "Hey, Ingeniero Federico, how are you?" And they will greet him. I think that there's an opportunity also to make the branch an experience place. And not just because I'm going to make a deposit, that's what I'm going to be able to do. If I'm talking to a teller, and the teller says, "Enrique, how are you? Thank you for your deposit. Have you thought about taking a line of credit? Have you thought about a new investment proposal for your children?" It is an opportunity also for creating additional relationships and a business for your business. So yes, the branch is a place, but you need to redesign how you're going to do it. Maybe you will offer coffee, maybe you will have a different layout of the furniture, and you will go for the high value services in the branch rather than in other areas. But I believe that we are social beings. We like to communicate, we like to interconnect. I wish this was an on-site event where we can all be in St. Lucia, enjoying the beautiful weather and the atmosphere.
Don't we all, Enrique?
But I'm sure we will be able to do that very soon.
Yes, it certainly is beginning to feel like a bit of a wind down, and hopefully if the protocols remain in place, we will be able to do this as a live event next year. So everyone get your tickets ready, put your little monies aside. Let's practice what we say to our customers. We need to plan for every eventuality. Sure. I do believe there's another question, and then we will move directly into our next sponsor break. But before we go, there is one more question for you. What would you say? Does this look like something we've had already? It does. Yeah. I think we had that question up already. Okay, so this one, the question here for you is, what would you say that the digitization taking place within industry, what would you say that the digitization taking place within industry has helped or harmed the customer experience?
No, I think has helped the experience because it has made it more convenient, and whether whatever age group you are, everybody has had to learn to use a mobile app because there was no other way. There was no other way to make a transfer. There was no other way to check your balances.
Right.
So I think it has been great for digitalization, and maybe in the year and a half that we have had of COVID, we have moved 5 years in terms of progress of digitalization. Banks have had to launch new products, new services very quickly to the market. So it has been great. We need to continue this. We need to refine it. We need to combine it with the human connections. We need to improve that experience to connect at the emotional level, we're saying in the presentation, and that obviously will make it better for all the customers and everybody using the service.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very interesting in preparing for today's conference as we engaged the various speakers and we put the topics together. The one central theme that everyone seemed to agree on was the need to ensure that we stay connected. And if ever there was a time from a mental health perspective, as well as from a physical health perspective, it really is the ability to reach out and touch someone.
Yeah.
So Enrique, with that, I thank you so much again for joining us this morning. I'm sorry, we have another question? Okay, perhaps Enrique, hopefully you can take one more question. This is the last one, if you could cue that. All right, what should industry leaders be paying attention to at this time? Very good question.
Yeah, I think the whole financial sector is going through a revolution, and there is many more participants in this revolution that are coming. Some technology companies that are referred to as fintechs is one of the examples. I think they need to open up their solutions to be able to provide a better service to their clients. So I think it's not seeing fintechs and technology companies as competition, but as part of a same ecosystem of how do we deliver better products and services to the clients. I think open banking and interconnectivity are the things that are going to be playing for the next couple of years.
Okay, fantastic. Enrique, thank you so much for being with us this morning. I certainly hope that Temenos will also have some visitors to their booth. Thank you for always coming on board with CAB. Your confidence in us is truly, truly appreciated.
It's a pleasure being with you. Take care and have a wonderful week. Bye.
Thank you.